Previously on Ape Among Us.
Richard, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Stop. Where's the body? Where's Bigfoot's body?
I find kill sites and stuff like that, but a lot of the bones are missing.
He thought that there was probably one Bigfoot for every 10,000 black bear.
I hear a lot of these stories. It's only so believable. I haven't seen anything that's even compelling evidence.
I haven't had an encounter myself, so I take these stories for what they are. If it's out there, then show me.
How long could I have been missing evidence of structures and sounds in my own backyard?
Is it a real wildlife creature, or is it an interdimensional, paranormal creature?
That is the creepiest shit.
Nothing's believable until it's right in front of you believable.
Over 400 years since English adventurers first established permanent settlements here in New England, the history of New England is filled with wonderment, mystery, and haunted locations.
New England needs to be recognized on the map as a major Sasquatch hub. If you think they can exist out there, they can't exist here.
When devil monkeys run loose and woods devils frighten local children, New England never has a shortage of stories of mysterious phenomena.
You know, it's just a place where a lot of unexplainable things have happened throughout the years.
Yeah. Show me Bigfoot, show me your evidence,
Yeah.
and let's talk about it.
I'm Mike Tinsley, and for the last year I've embedded myself into the Bigfoot community and the world of cryptozoology.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Stop. Where's the body? Where's Bigfoot's body?
First Nations people of the Northwest Pacific call them Saskats. The Chinese call them Yaran. Come with me as we talk to the experts and go down the rabbit hole of the world of cryptozoology.
Let's go find Bigfoot, bitches.
Whether it's a Bigfoot, woods devil, or devil monkey, what I want to know, is there a Manape among us? Throughout my life, I've had a UFO encounter. I've witnessed paranormal activity in my own house, but I've never seen a Bigfoot. Whether jumping on a hot lead, narrowing down my own research area, or meeting the right person to bring me to the right place where Bigfoot is said to show itself, I need to put myself in the best possible position to have a Bigfoot or cryptid encounter of my very own. But where do I go? Who can I trust? We were prepared to jump on a lead in Henniker only to find the witness misleading and contradictory. After our initial visit, other researchers debunked his supposed evidence. It was nothing more than a stump squatch.
I'm not calling foul, but I don't see anything on your side of the river. Stump squatch, I guess.
An old rotten stump at the edge of a field. And the way that guy pitted us against one another really evoked my cynicism. After an event in our own community, we talked openly to locals about their personal encounters and feel that we have an area of interest mapped out here in southeastern New Hampshire.
Happy hunting.
Once again, the kids are all over it. They're pointing to woods devils.
Maybe there's a connection between the two that we're missing.
And they're in your backyard.
Yeah.
Something's going on with, it's not Bigfoot, it's woods devils.
Here, nestled between Route 101 to the south and U.S. Route 4 to the north, there's an expanse of land that contains multiple state parks, town forests, conservation lands, making it the last tract of land in southern New Hampshire left somewhat natural. This area is interconnected with private lands, lakes, rivers, quiet country roads, and power lines.
Sometimes walking through these lowlands can be like walking through a jungle. Vegetation is dense, even though it's early spring. Take a look around me. You're not going to make a lot of time quickly unless you have a game trail or a bushwhack trail to your advantage.
I've been hunting in these woods for a number of years, and I always come across a few things that are questionable. Sitting at the base of a crabapple tree, I noticed some tree structures, some bent and broken trees. As I looked around, I noticed that there was a grapevine that was rubbed. It didn't take long to notice the bear scat. And from what experts say, there's definitely a correlation between bear and Bigfoot.
when you come across places like this, it's not hard to think, is that a squatch den?
The sounds that I recorded on this previous clip were unknown to me until I watched back the footage. Oftentimes, researchers will record everything and then listen for hours afterward and find those anomalies and try to make sense of it. Since the road wasn't too far away, I have my suspicions that that sound was actually from a motorcycle. New Hampshire is known for its lush woods, especially here in these lowland river valleys. The vegetation is as thick as it can be anywhere. So when you walk down a riverbed like this, it makes travel from A to B a lot easier. We find these types of riverbeds all throughout New Hampshire, and it's my suspicion that cryptids and wildlife use these waterways to get around.
I am here up in the White Mountains and I'm checking out this river valley. And it's a lot like many other places here in New Hampshire, whether it's in the White Mountains or in the Suncook Valley. What we see is these rivers meandering through these valleys, depositing stone and sand as they go. But it's pretty open, and as opposed to the thick woods that you see all around us, much easier to traverse through here than it is through thick forest and game trails.
Believe in Bigfoot. Oh, I love the hands. I went nice and fast, awesome. And that's not everybody. That's surprising, actually. If you have your hands raised, you're part of the 29% or 92 million people. It's a country that believe in Bigfoot. Has anybody ever saw a Bigfoot? Yes. Oh, I had a maybe. Was that a maybe? Okay, we'll talk out if you want. Anyway, so a couple housekeeping things before I get going. I'm currently camping at Bear Brook State Park, so if I look and smell like a campfire, I do apologize.
In the late 60s, a high school senior and Girl Scout camp counselor was waken up in the middle of the night by something growling and pushing on her tent. And according to park rangers, no bears were in the area at the time, and after no one confessed to hoaxing her, she reported in 2015 to the BFRO that she thought it was a Bigfoot.
You'll notice that there's a cluster of sightings that kind of run through the county up through here. Actually, 70% of the sightings occur within a mile of this, and this is a gas line. So I think Bigfoot followed gas lines and power lines like we follow as humans highways. Makes sense. A lot of food is along the gas lines and the power lines, so it makes sense Bigfoot's there too. So if you're looking for Bigfoot, I would start in an area that has a nice big gas line that runs through it. And the known animal migration corridor is exactly the same, which is pretty cool, right? So again, if you're looking for Bigfoot, my challenge to you would be not only to find a gas line or a power line, but also find a known corridor of migration of animals through your area, right?
Could these cryptids be using the power lines to travel from large wooded plot to large wooded plot unnoticed? Could these nocturnal beasts easily travel with enough food and cover from place to place with no human ever knowing it?
We're going to go take a look and see how the power lines are interconnected through each of these state parks and town forests. These power lines interconnect all these vast. Got a crazy noise. I'm out here in Nottingham, New Hampshire, and as you can see, these power lines go on for miles and miles and miles. And they actually interconnect state parks, conservation lands here in southern New Hampshire. Lots of food sources along the way too. Grapes, berries, white oak. And these can be squatch highways. Lots of cover, lots of concealment. Pretty easy to access these trails. Lots of concealment. When these were put in, decades ago, this was all clear cut. And as you can see, it's all new growth. So this is perfect for a game trail. And I guarantee if we set up some traps out here, we're gonna pick up something big. Moose, deer, black bear for sure, and there might even be a squatch. This is perfect.
And it just goes on for miles and miles and miles and miles. There's no reason a Squatch wouldn't use this as a superhighway.
And although we've done many scouting trips throughout this region, I plan on organizing a detailed expedition to these areas, hoping to really lock down a hot spot of activity and gather data. One area that we are especially excited to explore is the Bridgewater Triangle in southeastern Massachusetts. We attended the Mass Cryptid Fest in Raynham, organized by Jessica Carlozzi. Although we'd hoped to make it into the woods, those plans didn't quite work out this time, so I certainly wanted to take advantage to meet others in the area and of course say hello to a few friends that we've met over the last year. Coined by Lauren Coleman, the Bridgewater Triangle is about a 200 square mile area in southeastern Massachusetts known for strange occurrences, from Bigfoot sightings to UFOs and even pukwedgies.
So Lauren was in the Bridgewater Triangle week, and as I said, he's the guy who popularized the notion, the term, the Bridgewater Triangle. And if you look into it, it seems like, I'm not sure about this, but it seems like that the people of Bridgewater area actually came up with that term informally through the years, and then Lauren put it into print. Some sources you'll see it says he coined it, and then other sources it says he popularized it. So those are two different things.
So as far as cryptids and Bigfoot go, one of the ideas or theories that I had was that they use the power lines for maybe a superhighway to connect like one large plot to another. And there may be some other connections with power lines. What kind of input would you have?
I think that's a great working theory, because I've heard some people, I think it's on Squatchachusetts, on Facebook, there's a Squatchachusetts. Yeah, that group, and some people have mentioned power lines in terms of corridors for wildlife to move, for Bigfoot to move. One of the things I noticed with my research in sort of the archaeological stuff, the fringe archaeology I call it, is that there are a lot of sites in Massachusetts where you're near power lines and you have a stone chamber, or you have strange stone mounds, or you have a standing stone. And it seems to be a theme where there's some stuff in Connecticut that's like that. And, again, see, power lines to me are kind of marginal areas. It's areas where people usually go either to be alone, maybe be alone with like a girlfriend or something, or a boyfriend. Sometimes people go there to get drunk or high. Or it's kind of like these marginal areas attract the same kind of energy. They're very fringe. And power lines to me are kind of, they get the energy, the power lines up ahead. You can hear the crackling sometimes.
A pukwedgie is a human-like creature from folklore that appears in the legends of many indigenous peoples of North America. They are said to be mischievous and have magical abilities. Reports of pukwedgies are common here in the Bridgewater Triangle.
Hello, my name is Philip Anderson of Exploring with Phil. Do paranormal videos, basically in Bridgewater Triangle, also many other cryptids as far as pukwedgies, Bigfoot, basically anything that is in the Bridgewater Triangle area. So that's basically what I did work on.
When did you first realize you were interested in cryptids or paranormal things and stuff like that?
Bridgewater Triangle documentary really kind of blossomed that. A lot of people might know that one. That's from 2015, and that's when I became aware of like pukwedgies and other things like that. And my uncle actually had an encounter in the 80s, and at the time when he described this creature that he saw that jumped in front of the car, ran across, he described it as like a little troll-like creature, 2 to 3 foot tall, completely covered in hair. He's about to hit it with his car, then it just vanishes in front of his eyes. And so later on, after seeing the Bridgewater Triangle documentary all those years later, kind of put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh my God, my uncle saw a pukwedgie in the early 80s before people even knew what pukwedgies were. It wasn't like a common household thing. So
I took the chance to sit down with Richie and Adam to discuss Hanukkah and how it's changed our perspective of the Bigfoot community.
Of skepticism and cynicism in the Bigfoot community. Oof, that's a good question. You got good questions. Is this why you keep him around?
Lauren Coleman says you should be skeptical. You should come at everything with a healthy amount of skepticism, because you can't just take everybody's word for granted, right? I've interviewed a lot of people that, to be honest with you, their stories are just plain fake, and it's obvious because it doesn't match anything common to, typical Bigfoot stories, they often change details as the story goes. 1 minute it's 50 feet away, 1 minute it's 80 feet away. It's, people make things up. So I think a healthy degree of skepticism is always super important. A lot of people hear vocalizations, right? And I don't doubt that. A lot of people hear tree knocks, but face-to-face encounters are very few and far between in the Bigfoot space.
I agree.
So if you are telling me that you've seen Bigfoot, I'm going to be skeptical because not many people do.
But are you going to be cynical?
Cynical? Skeptical, always be skeptical. Cynicism, have respect. But if people don't have respect for you, feel free to be cynical. After you've done enough interviews, and I'm sure you've interviewed enough people on your podcast, but you start to kind of begin to be able to read people quite well, and you can really tell, when someone's being authentic or if someone's just kind of looking for their 5 minutes. The Henniker story with us, it was very clear to us, at least I feel like from the beginning, that this guy was kind of full of it. So you get good at reading people and trying to figure out personalities and matching up stories.
And I agree a lot with what you said. Skeptical is, fine. We need skeptics on everything we do. They are our balance.
Yeah.
100% checks and balances. The whole world needs it. Definitely this field needs it. It helps a lot. I encourage skeptics to come out with me. Even Wojo was a hunter, maybe not necessarily a skeptic, but he was someone that truly he was interested but didn't know or believe. And he saw for himself. I didn't point and say, see, I'm trying to explain this to you, guy. Pay attention. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like that. Cynical, right there, don't do it. There's no need for any of that bullshit. Like the Henniker stuff, you know what I mean? We got into the Henniker stuff, and I didn't like a lot that went on with the Henniker stuff. I didn't like it with you. I didn't like it with you. I didn't think the communications was enough. I didn't even think it was as true as they were supposed to be. I didn't think they were as accurate as we agreed upon, but he lied a lot of it too. I didn't want to shit on the kid. I wanted to still protect him and get him out of that situation. I don't want to be part of that big.
Right.
So when everybody saw a stump squatch and started pissing buckets, like, Jesus Christ just stepped on water in front of you, and everybody was like, oh, no, hands went up, and we're going to do this, let's do this. Oh, I have an idea, let's do this. None of that should have happened.
The kid found the BFRO.
Steve's coming. He's already coming.
Yeah, I knew he was.
Give a fuck.
Right.
As soon as I found out Coles was going out there, I just kind of lost interest, and I told Zach, I'm not driving to 2.5 hours on a Sunday afternoon. So I had just kind of, and I told Mike, I'm not coming up Sunday.
And I actually thought you weren't coming up either. You're like, I'm done with this. I'm not the only.
Yeah.
Because I had to back off it. It was frustrating.
No, I know. And I think we all felt like that.
Once he entered, everybody kind of went different ways, and I'm sitting there talking. You left me with the liar. But did we or did we not learn that's the part of the Bigfoot world we don't want to live in?
Oh, absolutely.
100%. This is much better, right? Stop lying to me. He goes, what? I said, stop lying to me. And I was right up in his grill, and I said, I'm done with you lying to me. I don't care about that. And I looked at his wife and I said, he's going to get you and your family all tied up in something you don't want to be tied up in. So I believe that kid has been out there by himself and gotten himself into situations where he was freaked out scared. And that's what gave him the idea to do what he did. To the point now, what I want to say to you is, why don't you put your boots on with me and come hit my secret locations, my backyard.
All right.
And I will explain to you how I found where I am today, 2 miles away from my house. We followed structures, we followed prints, we measured prints. There's a 17-inch, a 14-inch, and a 16. We know there's a family. These are the prints that we keep finding, and it's led us. And I think that would be something that would be very beneficial to the relationship, which we should have. And I think it would be beneficial to the research, and it would be very beneficial, I think, to your documentary.
Yeah.
And it will just put all that crap behind us. Because even since then, you and I have had something back here we needed to talk about, and we haven't talked about it. But we just did, so I'm good. Look what happened over a stump squatch.
I know.
Filtering through accounts can be daunting. To stay objective, it's important to be skeptical of everything. Make sure to explore all known options, leave no stone unturned, and rule out what can easily be debunked. You need to be skeptical of people and the evidence they provide you. The challenge of being skeptical is to avoid cynicism. Condescension, ridicule, and unsupportive criticism can ruin networks, teams, and even communities. And it's everywhere, not just in the Bigfoot space. Skepticism is healthy, but cynicism is toxic. After we left the Bridgewater Triangle, I got a message from a hunter. But something was different about this. I didn't know quite what to make of it. The hunter was near Littleton, New Hampshire. He told me that he was in his tree stand bow hunting, and he had been for a few hours. He noticed that the wildlife began to panic on the forest floor. This, of course, put him on alert. Looking down from his tree stand, he was expecting to find another hunter. But instead of seeing a hunter or a bear, he saw a tall, slender figure with broad shoulders and thin hips, about 7 feet tall, with what seemed to be pointed ears on its head. It crept forward, lurking from behind the trees. He reached out to me privately, and this is how his message read. So I was in my tree stand at about 6:15 and I heard something coming in. At this time, I only had about 7 minutes of daylight and legal shooting left. At first, I thought it was a deer until it got closer to me. I noticed it was walking off. When it got about 20 yards from me, it stopped. Then it started walking again, but around me. It stayed just out of the sight of me in the woods, which at that point had become fully dark out, and then it circled around me again. At this point, I turned my flashlight, trying to follow the footsteps to catch a glimpse of what it was. When I got about halfway around, I saw something and I swung back the flashlight. It was behind a large fir tree, and what I saw was what all I can describe as a large furry animal. And the scariest part was that it was on 2 legs. Now, it looked to me like it had just turned its back to walk away. It was either black or dark brown. It was thin at the bottom and wide at the top. Its shoulders were wide, and its ears were on the top of its head and pointy like a dog. It walked directly away from me, using the trees as cover. Then walked again behind my tree stand, and it stopped. That's when I decided to yell at it to see if it would take off running, and it didn't. I yelled out, "I have a gun, you better get out of here." Still nothing. I was bow hunting, but I always carry a sidearm for protection. I waited for almost an hour before I had the courage to climb down and head back up to my truck. I've been deer hunting my whole life and never seen anything like this. I've never felt that kind of fear in my entire life. I'm 5'9" and about 215 pounds. That animal was at least 7 foot, and I couldn't guess its weight. Bigger than me easily. I know it's gonna sound absolutely absurd, but what it looked like to me was what you see in the movies as a werewolf. And that's exactly how I felt, like I was in a friggin' scary movie. I honestly don't know if it was gone when I climbed down, if it was gonna get me when my feet hit the ground. This wasn't like most Bigfoot reports. Was this another woods devil? Or could this be a Dogman? I passed the information to Kelly Porter and the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, as well as Henry, a cryptid enthusiast and researcher living in the area. From the descriptions, we came to a consensus that it could be a Dogman. Although this creature showed no signs of aggression toward the hunter, most Dogman accounts involve acts of terrifying aggression. The hunter was reluctant to return to that spot for a few days, and when he did, he felt as though he was being followed. Whatever it was big, and the forest was silent. And although he himself was a big guy with a martial arts background, he had zero confidence that he could take it unarmed. He thinks back and he remembers odd behavior in some of the neighbors. They've never confessed to seeing anything, but that's how it goes in the North Country. Most people don't talk about him. And as it was, this guy, he didn't want to be known as a guy who's seeing things in the woods. He was a hunter, he knew the woods, and he felt that whatever it was made him want to learn more. Henry did some research in the area, talking to others he knows about potential sightings. We had nothing conclusive to work on. The woods were now inundated with hunters, and nobody was willing to talk. Since the original draft of this story, Henry has had his very own sighting in the area. Is Littleton our next hotspot? It's events like these that happen in northern New England that open up more chances to have a Bigfoot or cryptid encounter, whether or not there's a Manape among us.
Not only the Bigfoot phenomena changes people who witness these things, but how it affects the researchers themselves.
You're entitled to your own opinions, you're just not entitled to your own fact. You know, facts are fact.
A lot of friends that we've met along the way are going to be here in Whitehall.
Bigfoot is the next biggest thing. It's such a cultural shock to everything.
Had a cup of coffee and his hand couldn't stop shaking.
Everyone is determined tells me that they've all witnessed a Bigfoot here in the Adirondacks.